I got a kick out of it, right? When I have only $10, buying one item versus being able to stretch that over 5 items, wow, you feel like, wow, I feel so satisfied, man. I made my dollar work harder.
Let's go. We've got SGBudgetBabe. Let me serve you tea first. Senpai. 敬茶 to the, senior. OG.
你比我老啊。
yeah, I'm older than you. But hey, this in the local financial content space, right? This is the OG SGBudgetBabe. If the local finance content, if we are the Avengers, yeah, like Black Widow or something.
She also happens to be the only female.
Exactly. That's why founding member, only female. Are you still the only so-called, only female Finfluencer?
I don't know, am I?
Or you're like, no competition.
No, I feel like there's been a lot of new ones.
Yeah.
But I feel like everyone has a different niche. Yeah, like there's this YouTuber I recently came to hear of. She's called Lisa Learns Adulting or something like that.
Yes, we've had her on the show.
Videos are viral, man. And I look at the length, 50 minutes, and number of views. I'm like, wow, for a 50 minute video is very unheard of. Yeah.
In depth.
Yeah. So everyone I think occupies their own niche. Even with Kelvin Learns Investing, it's a certain flair and flavor. Yeah. But I think in terms of females, there's still very few. I see more of like lifestyle people coming into finance than straight up finance person.
And some of it is because of sponsored posts, right?
Yeah.
That they have to move into the finance space.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, you were an influencer before the word influencer was even a thing.
I was a writer lah.
You was a writer? Blogger, writer?
A writer with a lot of people who like my writing.
Because I told you when you first started the blog, I started reading it, right? And it's like, back then it was still, Blogspot?
Yeah, it's a Blogspot.
Was there WordPress? No.
There was WordPress, but I didn't use WordPress back then.
You started with Blogspot, right?
Yeah.
And then you were, how many years ago?
December 2014.
Okay. 2014? 2014, that means it's been 7-8 years? In your blogging
8
career?
years, yeah.
Wow, okay. And so like you're looking at all this, new YouTube, TikTok, what have you, right? Like how has the local finance content space changed?
I feel like people are more open to talk about finance now. They're no longer as, back in my days, right? Back in my days. 想当年, it felt very taboo to talk about finance. People are very secretive. They wouldn't tell you about salaries and how much they earn, how much they spend, how much they save. So when I started talking about that, it was really like, it was a shock. But nowadays, I feel everyone's just so open. It's like, I hit the 100K by 30 goal. I'm at this amount. And everyone's just openly sharing. I think that's the biggest change I've seen in the scene.
Do you also think it's not as cool back then to talk about money?
For sure. Yeah. I mean, back then also, maybe also because I'm female. When you're in your 20s and you're female, right? It's a lot of wanting to impress. So it's all about like going to cafes, taking pretty photos, being
nowadays
seen.
Still like that. Nowadays it's also like
maybe
that.
I just grown out of that phase. But it was a lot about that and like wearing brands and all. So to have someone who was coming out and saying, I buy stuff on Carousel.
Yeah.
I don't go for brands. I don't like branded bags. I never saw the point of spending on them. I save a lot of my income. I don't eat out at cafes very often. Yeah, so it was very against the norm. Yeah, and I did get a lot of hate for it. But
why?
I think it was just, whenever you go against the norm, I guess people just hate on you. I was getting hate from both as well. Like, the guys would be like, she must be living off her boyfriend.
Oh, okay.
And then, or like, she must not be giving her parents money. That's why she can save. Whereas the girls would be like, she's just, not like us. So I was getting like a lot of negativity from both sides, but I also had a lot of like silent supporters, and they were like, thanks for coming out to speak on this. You really say what I always felt or like was always asking or wondering about. So I tried to focus more on that. I think today, if you look at the scene, there'll be less negativity because people are kind of past that stage already. Yeah, but you still have to deal with both ends lah. So people are more open. You have to deal with both positive and negative. But overall, the scene has become more welcoming, more embracing.
That's the thing about putting yourself out there. You're going to get all sorts of weird comments.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it's still the case nowadays, and as is back then when you just started. And the thing about finance content, I didn't realize that, people will have negative comments about you being good with saving. How can you say something negative about that?
I think it's because like when I make certain statements on why I choose not to spend on certain things, people take it as a judgment of their own spending expenses.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's like if she says that she doesn't see the point of spending on branded stuff, are you saying that I'm wrong for spending on branded stuff? And they take it very personally.
Yeah, they feel it's a personal attack. Okay.
Exactly. So then then they respond in very hateful manners. And I was getting that from, just everyday people as well as some influencers back then. Yeah, so it was a little bit hard, but I think today the conversation has matured a bit more. And there's all that talk about like, being kind and that, money is up to everyone on how they want to spend it. Just because I choose not to do this doesn't mean I'm saying that you're bad for doing that.
I also don't know if back then there's a traditional mindset that if you keep talking money, you're very money-minded.
Yes, exactly.
Money-faced.
Correct. Yeah.
Whereas now it's like, okay, you're savvy.
Yeah. Last time the term was very stingy, penny pinching, miserly. Today it's savvy, prudent, thrifty. So it's like, the tone has changed a lot as well.
Yeah, brand has evolved so much, right? That I kind of forgot there's the word budget in your original title. Yeah, that's where you started, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, now you're talking about so many different investments, even crypto. But back then it was really about how to save.
Exactly.
That was in the brand,
Exactly.
right? SGBudgetBabe.
Yeah.
How did you get started? Like, why did you get yourself involved?
So if I were to tune back time, I remember it was back in 2014 and I was at my new job. I just more or less settled in. I was telling my then boyfriend that I feel like I don't get to write as much. And I love writing. My childhood aspiration was to be a published author. Yeah, so I was like, I want to do more writing. Business writing, not the same, So he was like, why don't you start a blog? I'm like, oh yeah, why didn't I think about it? What should I write though? Like, about what I ate. That was the days, right? If you look at the OG influencers, it was like, here's what I ate, here's what I wore, here's what I did. And I was like,
things are still the same.
Yeah.
We haven't changed much, but yeah, okay.
Yeah, but I didn't want to go down that path. I didn't want to write stuff like that because I felt like my life was boring anyway. I'm always doing the same old thing. And I repeat my outfits. Why should I write about what I wore? Then people know, hey, didn't she wear that last Monday?
Like OOTD. The same every day. Yeah.
Exactly. Then boyfriend, now husband was saying, okay, what have you been talking about recently? And I said, okay, in my recent meetups, I have been talking about how I saved quite a bit of money because I did hit a good savings milestone last year. He was like, then just write about that lah. Just write about what you thought. Very easy, very difficult, man. Typical guy style lah. Yeah. So I'm like, oh yeah, why am I overthinking it? So I started my first blog post with the title how I saved 20,000 in a year. And that
clickbait.
was
That is a good title.
I didn't even know there was a term clickbait back then. It was
exist.
literally what I achieved, and it was just me detailing the steps on how I got there. Yeah, and then I didn't even expect that to go viral because I remember when I published it, it was only shared on my Facebook to my friends, and it was really just a few of my friends who was resharing it and saying like, "Wow, I never knew you had this side of you. This was very inspirational." And then all of a sudden, I woke up one day and the numbers just shot up
on the blog. Okay.
Yeah, it just went from like I think 12 shares to like 200. And then like by the next day it was 2,000. And I'm like, what's happening? I have no idea. And then my friends were all messaging me like, dude, my colleagues in office are all talking about you.
You're famous.
But I didn't put my identity lah, right? So my friends knew who I was, but people who saw the blog through shares probably didn't know. Yeah, so I was like, what just happened? And then I was just glad that people liked what I wrote. And then from there, like the encouragement and supporting words that I received spurred me to continue writing. Yeah, and then I guess maybe because the first defining post was about money, that just kind of like cemented the path from me.
Oh, you already had a logo back then, do you?
I had BudgetBabe right then.
Yeah, BudgetBabe. I mean, you kind of knew it was going to be finance related, right?
No, actually, I just came out with the name Budget because I thought it was catchy, and in fact, the initial on Budget Barbie.
Yeah, that was back then.
That was actually Bong Choo Choo's stage name on CC Click TV or CC something, right? Yeah, so like Click Network. Yeah. So like, I had to change it. So I changed to BudgetBabe.
To BudgetBabe.
Yeah, still BB.
Okay.
But until today, my email is still SGBudgetBabe. So,
no wonder. So the first title that really got so-called viral back then, well, viral wasn't even a word, was the saving $20,000 in a year. Okay, and the thing about this kind of titles, right? Even right now, right? Just so you mentioned, or making 100,000 by 30 years old, then there'll be two groups of people. One will be like, that's impressive, and the other one will be like, that's so little. Right?
Yeah.
Like 20,000 a year.
Or like, humble brag.
Yeah, like, it's interesting, like how there's always like different opinions. And you mentioned a few times just now, right? Like as a female, you had to deal with all of these comments a little more, right? Like, how was it like, being a female, writer, blogger, influencer in this space?
I think on hindsight, it was probably good that I was already attached by then.
Okay.
So I didn't have to care so much about other people because, well, as long as my boyfriend was comfortable with it and he liked me, his family likes me, that's all that matters. Who cares about strangers, right? So I was a bit more comfortable, but of course it got to me as well. And I had a lot of times where I'll be like, walao, this guy, he just accused me of not giving money to my parents. What does he know about me? Don't you know how much I give? and then my boyfriend would be like, hi, yeah, you don't have to care about that. So it helped having him around. Yeah, and then with that, it made it a bit easier to get past those hateful comments by having his support as well as focusing on the positive ones. And then over the years, I think you just kind of learn how to deal with it, and a little bit, not really immune, but you learn how to ignore people who don't really matter, or who like just judge you and they don't really follow your path to know what kind of person you are.
How do you deal with you being famous? Although you were like a pseudonym. I mean, you never showed your real face, right? It's just a cartoon character.
Until much later.
Much later. When was that?
I think I only showed in 2016 maybe.
You started your YouTube? Or
no,
what's the reason for showing?
Actually, it was really because I think in 2016, Nafnang approached me.
Okay.
Yeah, and Nafnang, I mean, they don't really exist now, but back then they are the ones who managed Xiaxue and all the influencers, right?
They
so
were the YouTube before YouTube.
Exactly. And they
content.
came to me and they said like they could help me to monetize and get me gigs, and I wasn't doing any of that. So I was like, oh, why not? Okay, if it's a side income thing, then I don't mind. But their condition was that I had to show my face. Yeah, so I was like, oh, okay lor. Yeah, correct, exactly. Okay lor, let's just show off. Yeah, but I was hesitant in the beginning because like I also didn't want people to judge my content based on my face. Isn't that the reason why a lot of people followed the OG bloggers? Because hey, this girl show, I mean, I'm guilty of it myself, right? I followed Tammy Tay back then because she's so hot and pretty.
Okay.
Right? And then like I just didn't want people to like judge me before they get to read and judge my words.
I see.
Yeah, as an author, I mean, if you knew how the author looked like and you judge, what's more important? Is it the words or the author? But sometimes the face does come in, so I deliberately didn't want to show face in the beginning.
Although you know that showing your face will get more engagement, right? Because that's how
social
media works. Oh,
I never knew. It was only when Afnang explained it to me that I was like, okay, I can see the rationale of why you need me to show face.
Exactly.
I can see from client standpoint and all, but okay lor, I mean, now it's about 2 years already, about time lah, and just come out lor.
That's why I love Lisa's adulting in Singapore, because she has never shown her face till today. And
exactly.
it's all a 50-minute video. That means the content is really like in depth. And
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah. So you started showing your face. You know, more people know you, and then you know how things work behind the scenes, right? So could you tell us a bit more about, I mean, people listening to this podcast, they're going to be consuming so much financial content, right? So how is it like really behind the scenes? How should we learn to discern financial content?
That's actually a really good question. So I think there are 2 types of content creators when it comes to finance. One are the finance creators and one are the lifestyle now taking on finance content. And I think people need to be a bit more discerning for the latter group, because sometimes they're just following the brief. It's not that the brief is wrong, but it's just that, you can always just focus on the positive side,
right?
But not knowing the negative side or the T and C's of finance, right? Can make or break the investment or the purchase or whatever it is. It's like, for example, the person can say the credit card gives you 10% cashback. But if you don't hear about the part that needs you to spend $1,000 a month, then you might be signing up for that card and spending $500, and then you feel cheated at the end when you realize you didn't get anything because you didn't see this fine print because that was not communicated. And I think that is what is happening with a lot of the finance products nowadays. On the first group, I think there are 2 types also. So there are people who I really respect because and this is what I try to also be, whereby we're very selective about what we take on. And many times I walk away from engagements even when they offered to pay good money, because I just felt like it didn't support what I wanted to stand for in the long run, and it could backfire in the future, right? Yeah, I could earn like $1,000 or $3,000 right now, but is that worth the cost of my long-term reputation? Yeah, so making that kind of decisions on the back end is not what people always see. You only see what gets produced on the front, and people are very quick to just, shrug off, sponsored content.
Yeah.
But the truth is, sponsored content has a lot more work than organic. And a lot of the finance creators that I know and respect, right, we fight really hard to put the sponsored content in the way that we feel is the best. Yeah, so like when I work with clients, I make it very clear, you must allow me to put in like the T&Cs. They'll be like, can you remove the T&Cs? We don't want people linked in. And I'm like, no, it's a budget babe thing. If you don't want to put it in, then I can't do this gig. I'm sorry. And even if it means like I've already done the work and I have to throw away that whole gig because of this tiny thing, I'll refuse to budge. Yeah, or things like, I have to talk about the pros and cons. Yeah, if you want me to talk about a certain product that isn't always the best fit for everybody, I need to say who is good and who is not as suitable for it. But the clients will always be like, no, I don't want you to say who's who's not suitable for it, right? I'm like, no, I have to. Yeah, and I think having those conversations on the back end, you will be able to see it in the content, not just from one piece, but over time. When you follow a finance influencer, you can see that when they always try to be objective and promote two sides of the story, right? I feel those are the ones that are a bit more trustworthy and you can rely on the content for more snap judgments in that sense. But if it's not, then you have to be more discerning yourself and go and do extra research after reading about it.
I have nothing against the advertising model if it's done with integrity, like what you said. And actually, you brought a point, like which is very interesting for me. Like some YouTube channel, and then when they start to have advertisements, then people will say, "Well, you're a sellout or something," right? Like, but then do you think they're producing the YouTube videos for free?
Exactly.
I mean, there's got to be a revenue model in there somewhere.
Exactly.
But then I think this perspective is changing too. Like last time, I would see comments, "Oh, you're a sellout," "Oh, you're getting ads," but now I see like, "Oh, I'm so happy." Like for example, Kelvin, right? "I'm so happy you're getting sponsors. Like you deserve it." So I think there's a change in perspective as well.
Yeah.
But how is it really like behind the scenes in the sense that, you know, now there's so much crypto shilling. Shilling meaning like, yes, they're really selling this specific token or coin, right?
Yeah.
And like how bad is it? And you know, if as an audience, if you don't know that this is what's happening, you know, you could be taken for a ride, like you were saying. Yeah.
Exactly.
Like, do you get a lot of people asking you to shield this particular token?
Of course,
or whatever,
NFT projects,
NFTs.
tokens and all. But I think it really is about doing one's own financial due diligence.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's hard. Even as a content creator, it's hard for me to look at another content creator and know for sure whether he or she was financially incentivized to do it. And not everyone is
shouldn't
as
the default
open.
assumption be like, yeah, most likely it is.
Yeah, but some people don't, right? Some people are like, they really genuinely are just sharing because they think it's a great deal and they're not being compensated for it. How do you tell the difference? It isn't always as clear.
Isn't there the guide, an advertising guideline to put a hashtag sponsored post at least? Like,
But what if it's not sponsored? What if you bought that investment first?
Okay.
And then you're trying to shield it because you want other people to come in and buy and then push out the price and then you want to
dump it
on them, right?
Yeah.
So how does that fall within the guidelines?
Okay.
And you would never know. So I think like for me on my end, this is why I also stopped putting out public mentions of the things that I'm in, the investments that I am invested in, because I realized like people just look at, oh, he or she bought this, that's it. They don't look at the thesis. They don't look at the why, right? And then a lot of like, snap judgments get made, some good and some lead to a lot of downfalls. So for me, I like keep that to a exclusive platform on my Patreon where I really put out the entire thesis. And like, this is the reason why I bought it. This is where I see it going. These are the risks. This is the amount I bought it at. So if you see it now, it's like
entry.
120. Yeah, my entry level. Or if I sell,
important.
this is my sell price. So it's very clear and very transparent. Yeah, but if you're on just, public, right, it's very hard. Like, some people do that on Twitter. It's just 100 plus
40K,
characters.
okay.
Yeah, how do you communicate a whole thesis on that? Yeah, you can have your Twitter threads, but how many people actually read through Twitter threads?
Even after you put up the whole thesis, people might still not be reading it in detail, right?
They could, but at least in that case, like if something
You've done
goes
your part,
wrong, I've done my part and I've done my part to educate you.
Yeah.
You don't just blindly follow. So you knew what was the risk, and if that risk materialized, I'm in it with you, man. Because I also went in, right? And if I sold, you would have seen me selling, but I didn't. So I'm down at the same time.
Do you think there needs to be more regulation in this space?
I think there is, but it's hard. Like, how? It's like the same reason why SEC hasn't really gone after Elon Musk for all his tweeting, right?
Yeah.
It's really hard to kind of stop people about sharing, because you can stop the ones with a little bit more influence, but then the next everyday person who is savvy, not financially compensated, could start sharing about his or her picks, and then when they go right, he or she will naturally have an audience grow, and then will grow into that financial influencer title. And then do you now stop them when everything they've been doing up to that point was working well and you didn't regulate anyway? At what point do you step in? How do you step in? It's really hard. So I feel the easiest way, instead of waiting for regulations, which are always slower, we as consumers and investors just need to do our own due diligence.
Hey, welcome to the Financial Coconut Podcast Network. I'm your host, Reggie, aka your Chief Financial Coconut. And if you're loving what we're creating here, like, share, subscribe, share with your loved ones, comment in the comment section below. And yeah, we'll see you for great content on Chills with TFC.
Okay, could we go deeper into the due diligence part, right? So how can I do more due diligence?
So like learning about, let's say you see someone shilling a crypto coin, then you need to go and read up about what is this crypto project about? What problem is it trying to solve? Who's the team? Is it docs or undocs? What's the potential? Could it be a rug pull? You know, and then like also go and figure out, is the one who's posting this financially compensated in some way? It might not be that they were paid for it, but maybe they can earn affiliate fees. Yeah, there was like, I think, was it Crypto Nick or Bomber Nick in the early days of the 2017-18 bull market? He earned a lot of money from affiliate crypto promotions. And then also it could be like they bought in early and they're just trying to, you know, shoot it up, make the price go up and then dump it on you.
Yeah.
So I always teach my followers to ask this question: are they making you the exit liquidity? If you think they are, then maybe you want to stay out.
Maybe we should explain the exit liquidity part.
Yeah, so like if I buy a crypto coin that's unheard of, and then I shield it and promote it to all my followers, and I say, wow, this is super good, you should go and buy in. And then everyone goes in and buy, even if it's a little bit, the price is going to go up. Once that happens, I dump it.
Yep.
And then the price will slowly, like people start panicking also, and then it slowly crashes and then it goes down. So exit liquidity is me dumping on my followers.
Yeah.
I walk away the profits. They're the ones who hold the loss.
Yeah, because you will be selling at the highest point, right?
Or the highs.
The price, at the highest price, and I'm your exit liquidity in the sense that I'm buying at a lower, lower price.
You're buying my
I'm buying
bags.
from you. Yeah, I'm buying from you at a high. Yeah.
You're buying the things that I don't want.
And then the price drops. So your chance for an exit.
Yeah, exactly.
And liquidity, because now you can make away with the money.
Exactly.
Right, okay.
So I always ask people to think about that question. Is this person making you their exit liquidity?
I think even after doing all this, you could still be, taken for a ride, but at least, you've done some work. You try to limit the potential possibility that you could be the exit liquidity for some of these influencers out there.
Correct.
Okay.
And also, I mean, aside from deliberate schemes like this, there's also bad luck, right? Like COVID happens, black swan events happen. So you still can lose money even you do due diligence. But knowing the risk and at least doing your homework, then you can't say like, if only I had done this.
Okay.
Why I so stupid, never go and check. That kind of thing. So at least you'll be also like a lot, not so harsh on yourself. Yeah, because it wasn't something that you could accurately predict anyway. And I think that happened a lot with the Luna crash.
Okay, yeah, since you brought up Luna, right? I mean, it's not a scam in the sense that like the founders are trying to cheat you of money, but the project just failed, right?
Yeah.
And there were so many Singaporeans on it. I didn't realize there were so many Singaporeans on it.
Not just Singaporeans, I think worldwide, everyone was on it.
Yeah, but of course, then a good number of Singaporeans lost some money, right? Do you hear any stories?
A lot. Yeah, lots of people involved in it. But I think about Luna was that it was very sad, right? On one hand, you had like maybe 10% of the conversation talking about the warning signs. And even when I actually look at the whole Luna thesis and I did due diligence and all, I saw those signs, but you weigh your chances.
Right.
Yeah, and you'll be thinking, and this is exactly what I thought, what are the odds that it will fail? Yes, there are the chances, but like maybe a 5-10% chance. And then like if it fails, the problem is that it will be like a Lehman Brothers wide collapse. There are so many other projects, all the CFI and all that are embedded and tied and entrenched in this Terra
CFI
ecosystem.
being centralized finance.
Correct.
Right? Okay.
Yeah. So they're all tied together, and all the hedge funds and all. If Terra really falls, then all of these, there will be a domino effect. There will be financial contagion on the street. I don't think that will happen. So I'll take my chances and I'll play on the 90% that I think it will go up.
Okay.
And then of course, like who knew it happened to be that 5 or 10% chance came to pass.
Yes.
And we're now really seeing the whole financial contagion that I predicted in my thesis play out. It's unfortunate, but it was a risk. We knew the risk. We weighed it to be like 90-10 and we went ahead. So even if that goes to naught, then, well, I've done what I could.
You did allocate some capital according to your analysis.
Risk and risk appetite also. Yeah.
So I think many Singaporeans over-allocated.
Exactly. I think they may allocated either because of greed or they didn't know. Yeah, like I mean, if you just look at the Anchor protocol, right? Wow, 19%. Wow. If let's say you have 100K in a fixed D or it's just sitting in your bank, you're like, why should I put in a fixed D for just 1 or 2% when I can get 19-point-something%?
Yeah,
and it's in a stable coin as well, right? You can switch it to
that's the word,
so
stable.
you think that it's stable, it's good, and then you move everything into it, and that's where the problem lies. Because when something's too good to be true, then it usually has a downside that you may not be familiar with. I have $0 in Anchor protocol, by the way.
Now, of course, because
no. Back then, all along, I never had. I was tempted. Yeah, I definitely was very tempted.
Everybody's on it, right?
Exactly, but I just felt like it didn't make sense to be sustained sustainable. Yeah, and it's good to play for as long as it runs, but can you get out in time? And my concern was, I don't know if I could get out in time. So I'm okay to not make this 19% and just keep my cash in other sources instead. Yeah, but of course, when that whole crash came, it was very sad. Yeah, it was really, really very sad. My biggest loss actually didn't come from Anchor, didn't come from Luna, but from the fact that because I believe in the Terra ecosystem, how entrenched it was, right? I had some money in UST.
Right.
And that was my war chest for crypto when the winter comes. So now I'm like, my war chest is almost gone. Yeah, I have to put in more money to make a new war chest because, I mean, everyone knows Tether has issues. Yeah, and I felt that UST was a better stablecoin than Tether, and when to not, it was just like, wow.
So this is an example that you can do your due diligence, but you still got to be prepared that it doesn't work out. Your thesis fail. That's why you allocate according to your risk profile and how much analysis and how much you think it deserves, right?
Exactly.
And don't over allocate to it.
Yeah, portfolio allocation is super important, but I think it's a skill that many people lack. Yeah, they tend to go for where their greed leads them.
When did you start investing? I mean, back then SGBudgetBabe was about saving money, but when did you start this investment journey?
I actually have to thank my early readers because when that post went viral, I think it caught the attention of several other OG financial writers and bloggers, and they told me like, now that you have this sum of money, you should look at investing it. And that caught my attention. I was like, I still remember that comment on my blog. I was like, what is investing? I mean,
early 20s, right?
Yeah, exactly. I was like, I've heard of this term, but never really knew what it meant. So I started reading up. And then, of course, everyone recommends reading The Value Investor and Warren Buffett's letters and all that. So
That's how we got started.
Exactly. So I went through all the books and all that learning. And then it got very intriguing. Yeah, I really like learning about it. And then I started investing the year after. So I think that was in late 2015 or 16. Yeah, so I deployed right before Trump became president.
Okay.
Yeah.
That doesn't feel very long ago. Yeah. It's like, I mean, of course, the whole journey has been 8 years so far.
Yeah.
Wow. Because I think the topic of finance is generally, it's by itself intrinsically very appealing to you. Like, you're interested in it. Do you know why? What is it about you that you like it? Or background?
Yeah, because I grew up as a lower middle income family. So like I was always seeing my friends go on holidays, and telling me about their travels. And I never sat on an aeroplane until I was in uni. And I funded my own aeroplane ride. So it was always like, I wish I could have those things as well, but I never. And I needed to save up to get what I wanted. So when I was younger, I was a bookworm. I said my dream was to be a published author, right? I love reading Harry Potter, Annie Blyton. And I had to save up to buy those Harry Potter books. It was expensive, okay? It was like $40 for a student who only gets like $10 pocket money a week. I had to save for very long to get to $40. And I think just having to do that throughout my life just really grew me into, that's why the name came out, Budget Babe, right? Because it was always me working in a budget. Yeah, and then like I got a kick out of it, right? When I have only $10, buying one item versus being able to stretch that over 5 items, wow, you feel like, wow, I feel so satisfied, man. I made my dollar work harder. Yeah, so I think because of that background, it really shaped me into who I am today. And I think this is where our childhood influences and our childhood background, how money is being regarded, really shapes our outlook in life. Because I see the exact opposite with my husband. Yeah, he never grew up with a lack. Whatever he wanted, he was always given.
Okay.
Yeah, so he doesn't see money in the same way as I do. Yeah, he doesn't think about the downsides. When, let's say, if he has X dollars, he'll be living and spending X dollars. But if I have X dollars, I'll be like, I need to put aside 20% for emergencies, 30% for this, and the way we think about allocations is very different.
So how do you manage your finances as a couple?
I'm the CFO.
You're the CFO. Yeah. But because you mentioned that he never had a lack, right? So, okay, I know someone who's also like that. And because of that, they have an abundance mindset. I feel relatable. I feel that I can relate to your story in the sense that, I have to like work hard to get the things that I want in life because I wasn't given enough resources, like middle income family and all that. So I can feel that. But when I look at my friend whose family run a business and therefore since young, right, like money just flows in and out easily for him. But because of that, right, the way he operates, right, it's abundance mentality. Like to him, money will just come back. Yeah, and he doesn't anyhow spend, but I mean, he doesn't look at the price tag when he spends also. Yeah, so I don't know if that is missing from my own equation in my own life. You get what I mean? Like, because we've been operating in scarcity so much so that like, Because budget babe is about saving money, right? But there's only so much you can save.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. That's what I actually wrote about in, I think, the second or third year that I was tracking my expenses. Because I realized, right, I was saving and I was getting a kick of how much more I could save, right? And then it hit a breaking point. I just couldn't save anymore. And in order to increase my savings, I needed to earn more. And that's when my mindset completely shifted. So it wasn't about now I anyhow spend. I continue to keep the habits that I had, but earn more.
I agree. I have a similar experience. I was tracking my finances as well. And then I was like, like you keep focusing on the small things in life. Then you forget the bigger things.
Correct.
Because, I mean, ideally you should do both, save more and earn more. But the one that's going to really have a huge impact is your, revenue.
Correct.
Or your money coming in, right?
Correct. Yeah. But I think for people who grow up on the opposite end of the spectrum, it's harder for them to have that controlling mindset. So like you said, your friend doesn't really look at the price tag when he spends. But if it was the opposite, right? We always are used at looking at the price tag.
Yeah.
Now we can afford not to look at the price tag. And that's an easier shift than telling someone who has never looked at the price tag to now, hey, you need to start looking at the price tag now.
But sometimes I feel that scarcity mindset kicks in. Like, I still feel guilty at some level if I feel that I'm spending a lot. And I can afford to take more Grab rides nowadays. But when I see that the Grab ride home is $30, like, 我下不了手, I cannot press that. Like, you can afford it, right, in a way. But, oh my God, $30 go home.
Yeah, but that's also because you know that you can get more out of your $30. But you see, if you're in a situation where you need to get a place urgently, or if it's like $1 million deal, you'll just spend that $30, because you'll be like, this $30 is nothing compared to the 1 million I can earn if I show up on time. So it's really about the value. And I think we cherish and understand and attribute more value to each dollar because of our background versus someone who comes from the opposite side. And I really feel it's easier to go from scarcity to abundance than abundance to scarcity.